Today on Built to Last, elevating public transport in Chicago.
Before that, it was really a walking city.
A bridge over the River Shy.
They're showpieces.
And serving those in need.
That's why we give the day.
Put down that remote and pick up a hammer. It's time for Built to Last. Built to Last is brought to you by the Chicago Regional Council of Carpenters Labor and Management Committee and the Boy Scouts of America Pathway to Adventure Council.
Welcome to Built to Last. I'm Mark Nilsson.
And I'm Monica Pedersen. Transportation, whether it's by roadway or waterway, is vital to any community.
And any public transportation is the lifeblood of the city. It connects people across neighborhoods and communities.
How we get places often tells the story of who we are.
CTA and public transit in general is the lifeline of the city. We couldn't function in our neighborhoods and throughout the city if we didn't have public transportation.
It's absolutely vital. Our whole city is based upon public transportation.
Public transport and really mass transit evolved in Chicago beginning in the end of the 1850s, really evolving in the 1860s. Before that, it was really a walking city. The size was constrained by how far a person could reasonably walk.
In the early 1850s, Franklin Parmalee operated horse-drawn omnibuses between Chicago's railroad stations and hotels. And he was one of the founders of the city's first street rail company, the Chicago City Railway Company, which in 1859 began to lay track on State Street and Cottage Grove down to 31st Street.
They were streetcars that ran on rails, but they were pulled by horses. The problem with literal horsepower is that it's expensive to maintain and also leaves a noxious byproduct behind.
In the next decades, horses gave way to electricity, Chicago grew, and its neighborhoods were connected by an increasing number of independent lines.
They basically would get a franchise from the city to operate a particular set of routes or in a particular part of the city. But over time, as they grew and developed, they began to consolidate and merge.
In 1881, Charles Yerkes moved to Chicago and by 1887 had gained control of all the street lines on the city's north and west sides. Then he turned his attention to elevated tracks.
So the first elevated lines in Chicago ran to just outside of downtown. They weren't able to enter downtown because the two options were both problematic. One was to build on private property, but property values in the Loop downtown are very expensive, so it was cost prohibitive. The other option was to build over the public way, streets, but you had to have the consent of at least half the property owners in order to build a private enterprise on the public street. It took Yerkes to clear that logjam, and his companies were able to provide the necessary consent signatures through any number of different means, many of which were illicit, to build the Loop Elevated downtown, which acted as a common terminal for all of the individual L companies.
Meanwhile, back on the ground, Yerkes had relentlessly acquired the independent north and west sidelines, and by 1914, there were only 4, and they operated cooperatively in a system called the CSL, or Chicago Surface Lines. Their rolling stock evolved from streetcars to electric trolley buses, and eventually, some routes cut the cord and switched to gasoline. Just as the surface lines were consolidating, so were the elevated lines. Samuel Insull, president of the Chicago Edison Electric Utility, was an early investor in the South Side lines. The elevated railroads were one of Edison's largest consumers of electricity, and he kept it that way. For the most part, adopting a third rail system that eliminated the necessity of running wire over an already raised track. In 1924, Insull consolidated the lines, forming the Chicago Rapid Transit Company.
By the Depression, the companies were in receivership, as were, of course, many companies and business concerns during the Depression. And by the time World War II came to an end, the systems really needed revitalization, and they needed their core problems that led to their bankruptcies resolved. And the resolution to that was public ownership and operation.
Formed in 1945, the Chicago Transit Authority had control over the city's surface and elevated systems by 1947. And there was no place to go but down.
Chicago had wanted to build subways as early as the turn of the century. But ironically, it was the Depression that finally got Chicago over the final hurdle by using federal assistance through the PWA in order to begin construction in 1938.
The State Street Tunnel opened in 1943 and the Dearborn Tunnel in 1951, connecting the city's elevated lines without using the congested elevated loop. But the 50s were the decade of the automobile.
Chicago pioneered building a rapid transit line in the median of an expressway.
The first line ran due west down the center of the Eisenhower Expressway. Service eventually expanded to both the Kennedy to the north and the Dan Ryan to the south.
And the idea was to create corridors of transportation, sort of arteries that would contain several different modes of transportation all along one right-of-way.
It's projects like this that bring everybody together.
When they open up the new side over there, it's gonna be real nice. I think everybody's gonna enjoy it.
Every boy needs a foundation he can stand on, to embrace opportunity, to overcome obstacles. Because this is the time to equip a boy with what he needs for where he's going. And where he's going is anywhere he wants.
Keeping restaurants and hotels up to date with the latest design trends is a constant challenge. Finding qualified contractors isn't at finishingchicago.com. We work with top designers and general contractors who use the latest painting, drywall finishing, and wall covering techniques in Chicagoland's premier hotels and restaurants. The hospitality industry relies on finishingchicago.com as its free resource to find quality finishing contractors. For a great finish, start with finishingchicago.com.
At Armstrong Ceiling and Wall Solutions, we take great pride in making a positive difference in the lives of people. With the broadest portfolio in the industry and the technical performance to back it up, you can design and install with confidence. Our ceiling construction expertise, training, and pre-engineered ceiling solutions make it easy for you to seamlessly transition from one end of the building to the other. Improve construction efficiencies and keep every job on time, on budget, and on the mark with Armstrong Ceiling and Wall Solutions. Faster, easier, better.
Chicago boasts one of the largest public transportation systems in the world, and every now and then it needs a little bit of reinvigoration to keep it running on time.
I live on 123rd, so I drive to 95th, or I could take the 34th Michigan bus.
95th is like one of the busiest train stations that we have. Like, this is the busiest stop here. So it's like there's a lot going on in this area, and there's a lot of buses that come to and from this area, including the Greyhound bus.
The Chicago Transit Authority and CTA service in general is an integral part of a sustainable city.
Considering not everybody can drive, like teenagers and middle school students, it's very important to get back and forth, and without the CTA or the buses here, we wouldn't be able to get where we need to go.
Moving people efficiently from between work and school and all the other places they have to go is critical to maintaining competitiveness in the world market these days. So 95th is a great station. You know, it served us admirably for 50+ years.
The existing terminal was built back in the 60s, 1969. So it's a super old facility, super cramped. So CTA wanted to invest in a brand new, beautiful 2-terminal facility.
When we start the conceptualization of a project, especially a station, with our designers, a lot of what is factored in is what community it's coming into.
As you look at the new 95th Street station, particularly that south terminal, I mean, as you approach that terminal either on foot or in a car or in a bus, it's really the new gateway to the city of Chicago on the south side.
there is a whole lot of Chicago south of 95th Street.
The community's being underserved. They're cut off from so many different resources that people who live in communities that are being served have access to that they don't.
Where transit goes, business follows.
You know, we believe it can have a great impact. It can raise property values. It can, you know, draw more businesses.
We're looking to create a vibrant economy. And really the CTA has always connected that vibrant economy with everybody in the city.
A lot of these buses that take you further past 95th they don't run after a certain time. So it's like, after a certain time of night, if you live in the hundreds, you can't really get home.
That's why the CTA has undertaken a huge project to expand the rail line south and to increase the capacity of the 95th Street Dan Ryan Station with a state-of-the-art build.
This is a almost $300 million project, and any construction that size is always going to have its challenges.
Whenever we're talking about doing a particular activity, I'm thinking, okay, how is that going to affect our customers?
They had to get to school, they had to get to work, they had to get home.
How can we, you know, still have a safe, comfortable environment for them in the existing terminal?
Now factor in that we're doing it in between live running trains, in between tracks, and then on top of that, we're running over an expressway.
We run trains every couple of minutes during rush hour. We have 600-volt direct current traction power. The amount of consideration and the complexity of building these projects, particularly in the midst of live service, is incredible. And the skills that the workers who work on these projects have to bring to the table in order to successfully complete them on time and on budget are just incredible. We do a lot of our work when the customers aren't out there. So, you know, when we're doing construction, it's typically in the middle of the night.
We built the South Bus Bridge, which was a totally brand new bridge over the highway, and having only 15-minute increments for a few hours at night, you know, that makes this work like really challenging.
Because you don't get 3 chances to do this, you've got a very quick window to do it right. And none of that happens without carpenters. So, you know, they are really, in some ways, the backbone of our system.
The union has so much strength. The training that they give to us it's so essential. They give us all the tools to use for safety, and that is always number one, is safety with us. So they train us, they give us all kinds of schooling prior to even coming out to the project.
And the station won't just be optimized for function, it's going to have beautiful form.
We want it to be very open and airy. We wanted a lot of natural sunlight. We wanted better colors. We just wanted a feeling of, you know, vibrancy. Watching all the tradesmen, all the skilled labor, actually putting that into reality it's amazing. You know, it's people don't give trades enough credit of how talented they are.
It's pretty crazy for me, like seeing all of the laborers that you don't necessarily know their name, but you know, I come and I see them every day, and like just to see the progress and just see their commitment and their devotion to the project.
It's such a great feeling to walk in here on a daily basis and seeing something that we actually had just in our heads is now actually coming true.
I've been on this project for 4.5 years already, and it is incredible to see this building come to life. Last week we had buses pulling through, testing some of the bus geometry. Having that first bus pull through, it was so crazy because we're like, oh my goodness, this is finally happening.
It's projects like this that bring everybody together. I've done this 36 years, and this project here is right at the very top of my list.
I think when they open up the new side over there, it's gonna be real nice. I think everybody's gonna enjoy it.
I think I'm looking forward to the most of seeing that first actual customer walk through.
And ideally, it'll be a family, you know, mother, father, kids.
See their expression, see their reaction.
Being able to show them that CTA cares about their community and ultimately cares about them.
The Chicago Transit Authority operates the nation's second largest public transportation system. On an average weekday, 1.6 million rides are taken on CTA.
So we're all locked down tight before we can even think about moving the bridge. Pull the locks to rear locks and then actually start moving the bridge.
When you need a concrete contractor for your commercial project, you can't waste time waiting through countless unproven contractors who don't specialize in the job type you need or service your area. ConcreteIL.com lets you browse Northern Illinois' top contractors to find the perfect fit for your exact needs. You can filter our vetted list of contractors by both job type and location, and even request proposals directly through the site. Thinking commercial concrete? Think ConcreteIL.com.
Meet the new family of Blaze laser measures from Bosch. Go ahead, turn it on and start measuring. It's that simple. The Blaze family offers a wide range of functions to tackle any measuring job. Extend your reach with accuracy up to a 1/16 of an inch. With Bluetooth-enabled devices, easily transfer measurements to your smartphone or tablet with free Bosch apps. Reach farther, work faster, and stay accurate with the Bosch Blaze family of laser measures. Measure on.
Each spring, the boats that fill Chicago's harbors migrate up the Chicago River, passing under the city bridges to Lake Michigan. What does it take to make all of this happen? What if I told you none of it would be possible without an electrician? The completion of the Illinois and Michigan Canal, which joined the Chicago and Illinois rivers, created a direct water link between the Great Lakes and the Mississippi River, making Chicago the center of Midwestern trade. This, combined with the railway systems, made the city a bridge for commerce across the United States.
It's in the middle of the country, of course, so it's strategically important to the new American nation. But the bottom line is that you've got access to the Great Lakes from the East Coast. So in the 19th century and the early 20th century, the river is an industrial site. It's a place where the commerce of Chicago happens.
As the city grew, so did the need for river crossings, and the public clamored for bridges to be built. But merchants bristled at the thought of permanent bridges interfering with river traffic. Adversity birthed innovation, and the movable bridges were established. Built in 1834, Chicago's first movable bridge was a wooden drawbridge at Dearborn Street. Built out of timber, it resembled more closely the drawbridges from A Knight's Tale than it did the metal titans that straddle Chicago's rivers today. A bastion of engineering, it was no wonder Chicago kept improving its movable bridges, and eventually, the trunnion-bascule design was developed. Consisting of two leaves that pivot vertically, utilizing a large counterweight, the trunnion-bascule bridges are quick opening and do not create an obstruction in the river itself. They came to be known as the Chicago Bridge, and the Chicago Bridge needed tenders. By the middle of the 19th century, the first bridge tenders took their posts. Responsible for operating the bridges and tending to their maintenance, many of them lived at the bridges.
Back in the day when they built them in 1929, from the light bulbs to the main motors, all your gate motors, everything was 600 volt DC. And so they manned them with electricians, and electricians operated and everything. They would have electricians here 24 hours a day.
We're getting ready for the season here, and we're going to start bringing the boats out into the harbors. From the operations manager all the way down to the guys like us in the trades and stuff like that, I mean, and the engineering, everything. I mean, there's a big picture here. And, you know, everybody plays a part. Realistically, on a normal day on a bridge this size, you have 5 electricians working it. You'd have 3 machinists and 2 iron workers. And what they do is they leapfrog them from one bridge to the next. When you first get started, they turn on a mechanism called the safety first, which will start ringing the bells and warning lights.
Then we lower all the gates. When the bridges are going up, an electrician is here to be ready to fix any problems that might come up.
It's almost like a choreographed dance routine, where there's good communication between the guys down in the machinery area, in the electrical rooms, or up in the tower. But everybody coordinates with each other, and then also street level. Make sure that there's no pedestrians running across or whatever. So we're all locked down tight before we can even think about moving the bridge.
Then the center lock comes out.
Pull the locks to rear locks, and then actually start moving the bridge. In the event that any one of those steps has a problem, they are right here on the spot to rectify it so we can keep moving. We want to keep moving for the boaters, and we also want to keep moving for the pedestrians and vehicular traffic. They're showpieces, absolute showpieces. And not only to the city, but to everybody who visits here. We're raising 27 bridges in a matter of around 4 hours. There's a real sense of pride to what locals you belong to. You look at the iron workers and they're local 1, or the electricians are 134, or the carpenters are local 13, and they wear their stuff proudly. I've been a union member for 35 years. I hope it's for another 30.
I was working for the city in another spot, and the bridge department started to rehab bridges, and so they had a lot of work and they needed guys, and I jumped on the spot as soon as I can because they're interesting as from an electrician's point of view because there's a lot of controls that go into each step to move forward with the next step so that it's safe.
You get a job like this is one that people dream about. I really have a passion for this. I love this. I love every minute of it. And also the people, the general public that's down here. When they see a bridge going up, they're like, wow, this is really the neatest thing going, you know? And it really and truly is.
Doing work for me that I should have had done a long time ago, and it's really going to enhance my lighting going down the steps.
Stabila lasers and levels, designed for contractors that perform high-risk layouts every day. These accurate and durable lasers have a working range up to 1,800 feet. Square your next job site with confidence. Stabila, how true pros measure.
I was running a pro shop.
It was in the military.
Accounting degree.
Dog groomer. 8 hours a day sitting on the computer.
I knew I wanted to be an electrician.
I joined their trainee program.
They're willing to pay you to go to school.
It was just cool.
You learn about motor controls, you learn about fire alarms.
The pay is great.
The union provides the benefits. Health coverage.
It gives me a great retirement plan.
I like working with my hands.
Setting me up for the rest of my life.
The all-new SkillSaw heavy-duty worm drive table saw with stand. The world's only full-size table saw with worm drive gearing. Delivering unmatched durability, unwavering power, and unrivaled torque. So you get better results. Faster. Nothing compares to worm drive gearing. SkillSaw. Stay true.
The greatness of a nation can be measured by how it helps those in need. The organized labor family has always looked out for the less fortunate in our communities.
After World War II, labor was running large-scale community service efforts to support their members and to support their entire communities.
Continuing that commitment of organized labor, giving back to the community, IBEW Local 134 works with Rebuilding Together to serve those most in need.
Rebuilding Together Metro Chicago is an organization that's been around for 25 years. We have repaired over 1,600 homes in Chicago and Cook County, as well as over 200 community facilities.
Well, we pick a location in the city and in the county. We try to cluster them. This year we're out by Garfield Park and Bellwood in the county. We train the house captains, train the volunteers. We recruit the skilled laborers you see behind us with the electricians, plumbers, and carpenters.
So we are at Rebuild Chicago Day, our annual day of giving back. You can see the turnout here today. We have probably 35 service trucks out here. We have over 40 contractors that have donated manpower, and then we have the local, the everyday rank and file member that comes out and wants to make a difference. So that's what we're doing. We go into these houses that just need work and they don't have the wherewithal or the financial ability to get it. So that's why we give the day.
Last Saturday in April, every year, we come out, and from remodeling kitchens to bathrooms to painting to furnaces to hot water heaters, we try to do it all in one day. About 3,000 to 3,500 volunteers. I'd say the skilled tradesmen will be north of 500 this year.
How's the basement going? Good, good. Putting on GFIs to make sure everything's safe.
Doing about 16 houses here today, and we had about 80 volunteers show up.
Good here? Taking care of the situation for ladies.
Anytime that we can encourage our local 134 members to get involved and give back to the community, especially in areas like Bellwood and the city of Chicago where we have a lot of union membership living there, it's great to give back to our own communities.
Our homeowner this year, Ms. Jones, is amazing. She's been so active in the process. We've been out here several times before today to work with her. She helped pick out paint colors to repaint her home. She's been very involved in the process and very eager and excited for us to be here today helping her out.
I feel good to be able to help and assist them because it wouldn't be fair for them to do the work and I don't do anything.
A lot of the stuff is not up to code, and we need a ton of skilled laborers, such as electricians that can do, trades work that we cannot do.
Bridget and Amy, they're wonderful people. And all the volunteers that came out today, I am so thankful that they came.
And one of the things people don't realize about the electricians is making it safe. I've seen them pull new wire, change out all the outlets, and just make it a safe home.
They're going to install 2 lights in my home, and they're going to do, my stove has the electric in there, and they're going to do something there.
Local 134, they are doing an awesome job with the electrical work, adding new fixtures that she's been trying to get done forever. It's a humbling experience, and I'm very grateful for what they're doing.
The electricians are doing marvelously. It's hard work because these are old houses with old electrical systems, and the painters are just in and out. We would still be painting.
Good. How's the day going?
Great.
Houses are getting done?
Absolutely.
Electricians are doing good?
Absolutely. The Building Together has historically supported a community that I'm a part of and from, Inglewood. So it's a no-brainer for me. Being involved directly affects me, so I want to support an organization that supports where I'm from.
We go out and tell people what we're doing, and a lot of times it's a little harder than you think because a lot of these people have been taken advantage of. So it takes a lot to gain that trust.
I realized this was a wonderful organization and they were going to help me out. I'm very grateful to the electricians, the local 134, who is doing work for me that I should have had done a long time ago, and it's really going to enhance my lighting going down the steps. Everybody's just pitching in, and it's just a wonderful camaraderie the way everything is going so well organized. And I really thank Jim Ortega for putting it all together. But for every worker that's here, I am so grateful and I'm so thankful.
That gives me a lot of happiness to be able to see their faces when we're all done, and knowing we left them with better off than when we got here.
Oh, it's very great, and it makes me joyful.
You walk down the street and you'll see 4 or 5 homes done, and you kind of step back and say, wow, we've changed it. We've changed a city block.
I would encourage anybody to give Rebuilding Together one try. I tried it 1 year, and I've been doing it for 15.
Personally, it makes me feel very good because at the end of the day, I know we touched a lot of people's lives.
And when you see when the kid comes in and he flips the light on in the kitchen, he's like, "Mom!" You can't put a price on that.
That's all for this episode of Built to Last. We'll see you next time.
And remember, check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Hey, Monica, did you hear about that local bridge that was damaged?
No.
I just can't get over it.